For today's NFL training camp spotlight, let's go. Head on up to Minnesota. I'm bringing back Tyler Forness of the Vikings Wire to let us know what's been going down over at Vikings camp. Tyler, thanks for joining us. Before we start talking about what's going on the field, let's head to the training room. Second-year cornerback Andrew Booth Jr. and running back Alexander Mattison left Tuesday's practice with injuries. Can you give us updates on those guys before we get to the goods?
Absolutely. And we know that you only brought me back because of the beautiful hair. I'm a little surprised you didn't mention that, Brandon. But let's talk about these injuries. Madison told the Star Tribune that he's going to be okay. It looked like just a minor hamstring pull. And when you have the running back group that the Vikings do, being so youthful, it's you never want a guy to get hurt. But if there was one guy to have a minor injury, it's probably best that it be Madison, because you're going to see those young guys get a lot more reps, and Madison doesn't need any. He's going to be fine going into the season. So get that hamstring right, get those reps to those younger players, and we'll be all right. Andrew Booth Jr., who knows? He had the sports hernia injury in college. He tore his patella in high school. And then he had a torn meniscus that he had to get repaired this past season. And he's just been a bevy of injuries. The talent is just incredible, but he hasn't been able to utilize it because he's been hurt. We'll see what that injury is. If it's just a minor tweak, which is a word we love to use this time of year, or if it's something more serious. We'll know in time, but as of right now, there's no update on him.
Well, the best ability is availability. That's what everyone knows about the NFL. So hopefully, like you said, it is a minor tweak. But let's talk about this backfield. This room, like you said, is young. Madison, he's the guy now. He's RB1. Can he and the rest of that young group step up and replace Dalvin Cook's production?
Yeah, I really think they do. And the biggest issue with Dalvin Cook was not the explosive plays. It was the down-to-down consistency. He had over 60 rushes last year for 0 or negative yards. That's insane. You'd want a guy who's going to be able to get you positive plays. And the positive plays are what matters more than the big runs. Sure, you'd love a guy to be able to break 80-yard runs, but that's going to happen once, maybe twice a year. I'd rather have a guy that's going to consistently give me 5, 10, and 15-yard rushes. And that's where Madison comes in. There's nothing flashy about him. He is average across the board. He can do everything well to a certain level, and he's shown the ability to be successful in Dalvin Cook's absence. And then behind him, you have Ty Chandler, who's got 99th percentile explosiveness, and that 10-yard splits at 1.38 seconds. He ran a 4.3740. Panay Wong was one of the best return guys in football. Can he figure out how to play running back? Because that's been a struggle with the vision, the general technique, understanding where to go and how those assignments work. Yeah, it's been a work in progress for him, but he's been running with the twos so far during camp. And then Dwayne McBride, who runs like he's in a car wreck, but he had 5 catches on 9 targets for 25 yards at UAB. Can he be a pass catcher? Can he be relied upon on third down? Those are some serious questions, but there is a lot of talent in this room. And I think they're going to go with the approach that teams like the Eagles have been doing. Running back by committee, get guys in positions to succeed. Don't utilize any one player too much, and you'll be able to, in theory, by the end of the season, all these guys will be fresh enough to be really impactful in the playoffs.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with running back by committee. A lot of teams have had success with that. All right, done talking about running the ball. Let's start chugging the ball downfield. We keep seeing viral video after viral video of this guy, Justin Jefferson, making big play after big play. You guys got Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson kind of headlining the pass catchers on this offense. So what's this Vikings pass game been looking like?
The pass game's been looking really good. And Kirk Cousins, you can just tell he feels more comfortable. Everybody saw quarterback. Everybody remembers Kirk O'Chains. But he was really held back a little bit by Mike Zimmer. Zimmer was just a no-nonsense Bill Parcells tough guy. And he didn't like Kirk Cousins. And it showed time after time. Kevin O'Connell comes in, had already worked with him previously in Washington as his quarterbacks coach. Let him be himself. He's a dorky dad. And once they really embraced who Kirk is, you started to see growth in how he attacked downfield, in how he trusted his receivers. Yes, the counting stats went down a little bit. His performance went, and I think that could go up again this year, where if TJ Hawkinson, he's going to be fully invested in knowing this offense instead of coming in blind at the trade deadline. And Justin Jefferson, there's a real argument he's the best player in football, and he's on the track to be the best wide receiver of all time. Everything he does is explosive, effortless, smooth. it's incredible watching him play football, and you can just tell that you're watching somebody special. You bring in KJ Osborne, who is one of the hardest working people in the NFL, and Jordan Addison is incredible talent as well. This passing game, with any kind of improvement on the offensive line, is really going to take a step forward. One thing to remember, Brandon, this is the first time Kirk Cousins has had the same play caller in back-to-back years, I believe, as a starter in his entire career, and at least as a member of the Minnesota Vikings. That's a big deal.
Yeah, this Vikings offense is the highlight of this offense, the highlight of this league. And my bad, KJ Osborne, for not naming you with the initial group. He is definitely their third receiver and one of their big playmakers. So, offense sells tickets, defense wins championships, and this Vikings defense struggled in key moments to get off the field. Insert Brian Flores as the new DC. What are some of the major changes or adjustments you've seen in camp so far with this Vikings defense?
Blitzes. It's all about the blitzes. The offense can't handle these blitzes and team drills. And when you've never seen them before, it's okay for them to be struggling this much. The defense should be better right away because offense is much more about team chemistry. It's much more about understanding what routes you're supposed to run and having that timing. And that's what you build up during camp. Defense can come in and just blitz. And they can have more success right away. By the end of camp, the offense should be winning a lot more of those battles. But the big difference is going to be Brian Flores is going to be running this defense without an ego. He's going to call whatever he thinks is best to win football games, where Ed Donatell's like, no, you just run my defense. I don't care what your skill set is. You're going to do this, and you're only going to do this. Like Harrison Smith has 16 and a half sacks in his career. He barely did any blitzing or rushing the passer last year when it's one of his best attributes. And Brian Flores has already shown that he's going to do that. Harrison Smith had 3 sacks during team drills yesterday. That's not a mistake. He's going to put guys in position to succeed, and there's talent on the defense. The addition of Flores should immediately boost this defense up. And I think it's going to be a much better unit than we saw last year. Potentially, maybe even a fringe top 20 unit. That might be pushing it. But you're going to see a lot of improvement.
Okay, so you're talking about the improvement of this Vikings defense to go with that lethal passing game that they have. Here's a bold prediction. Where do you have the Vikings finishing in the NFC North?
It's a toss-up for me between them and the Detroit Lions. And they play in Week 16 at Minnesota on Christmas Eve and Week 18 at Detroit. Those 2 games are sandwiched with the Vikings having the last game of the 2023 calendar year, hosting the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football on New Year's Eve. That 3-game stretch is going to determine the Vikings season. They have to play each of the final 4 teams throughout the course of the year. They host Kansas City. They host the San Francisco 49ers, and they're at Philly on Thursday night in Week 2 and at Cincinnati. If you can come out of that gauntlet 2-2, I think the Vikings win the division. If you don't, you're going to get really close. This Detroit Lions team is legit, and I think Week 18 is probably going to be that Sunday night game that's going to determine the division. And I lean Detroit right now as the betting odds currently do, but don't be surprised if the Vikings end up winning 11 games this year and taking that division.
Yeah, a lot can happen this NFL football season. I'm excited, just like I was excited to see the hair, man. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, man. Great to see you, too.